In today's video, we dive into an anime where a boy becomes an Iceblade Sorcerer and joins the academy. But everything seems perfect. Until the anime starts with a boy named Ray entering the academy. Then a green-haired girl bumped into Ray, but Ray's riz was too hard for her and she became red. But when she gets to know that Ray is from an ordinary family, she starts overreacting. Suddenly, a group of 4 students approached him and started threatening him, telling him that only people from noble families can join the Arnold Academy. When Ray told them that he is only there to learn new things, the guy tried to pick a fight with Ray. But before he can do anything, a girl from a top noble family came there. Her name is Rose, and she told them to stop the fight. As per Rose's family position, the guy dropped the fight and left Ray alone. Despite being noble, Rose was a kind girl and told Ray to tell her if he faced the same kind of problem again. Ray then attended the school's entrance ceremony, where Principal Abby gave a speech. She told all the students that despite their rare talent for magic, they still require hard work to become A-tier sorcerers. Rose also gave a speech afterward, as she is the representative of the students. After the ceremony, Ray attended his first class. Many students were not happy to see an ordinary student studying with them, but some students were happy to see Ray there. Ray then met the class instructor, Gray, who was sorry for the behavior of some students. During class, Ray suddenly started having a nightmare where the whole city was on fire. Suddenly, a chalk was thrown at him by Gray, as Ray was not paying attention. Gray then told everyone about the best sorcerers in the world. First is the principal, Abby the Blaze Sorcerer, Carol the researcher of sorcery, and there was one more. His name was Iceblade Sorcerer, but he vanished after the Far East War. Gray then told them that their final destination should be the rank of Grand Sorcerer like them. Suddenly, the guy from earlier, Aliam, stands up and asks Gray, if our destination is to be great sorcerers, why is there an ordinary guy here? Many others were in support of Aliam, but Gray told them that despite being ordinary or noble, everyone present here had qualified for the entrance exam and the interview. Sensei Gray then told the students about sorcery, and its core is composed of coding. They have to code and decode the excess data to create anything with sorcery. Rose then asked Gray if there is a limit to creating something with sorcery. Gray told Rose that it depends on a person's capability. Gray continued, saying that the things created by sorcery are in 4 forms: solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. If there is something else, it is called a phenomenon. A girl in a cap asked Gray if she could use some anti-coding to erase the Rose she created earlier. Gray told her that no sorcerer can use Ainsworth's anti-coding, as it is a high-level technique. After theory, the students started performing sorcery. In the first attempt, Rose created the perfect ice rose, while Ray was struggling to do so. Aliam was angry to see a talentless wizard in the academy. After class, Ray was exploring the academy, and he was impressed by the historical buildings. Ray then saw the girl from the class entering the library. She told Ray that her name is Alisa, and she is searching for Ainsworth's book, as she is her role model. Ray knows about her too, and he also likes her. Seeing an Ainsworth fan of the same age, Alisa became excited. She then apologized, saying she got carried away. Out of nowhere, Ray complimented Alisa's hair. She suddenly became anxious and tried to wear her cape again, but Ray stopped her and asked for the reason for her disguise. Alisa told Ray that everyone used to make fun of her ears because Alisa is half elf, half human, but Ray thought she was a beautiful girl. This made Alisa blush. She told Ray that he seems mature for their age. In the evening, Ray bade Alisa goodbye and reached his room where he met Evi. From his looks, it seemed like Evi came there to pick a fight. But when they shook hands, both of them realized something. Suddenly, they both took off their shirts and realized they were gym bros who met. The next day, during his morning running session, Ray met a third-year student, Rebecca. He then met Evi again. Evi told Ray that Rebecca, too, is from a noble family. Ray then went to meet Gray. But on his way, a girl named Clarice bumped into him. At first she was angry as she was eager to go, but Ray rizzed her after he complimented her pigtails hair. Afterward, Ray met Abby. It seemed they both knew each other. Ray then called Abby Colonel. She told him not to call her that, as they all have retired. It also seemed like Ray participated in the Far East War, as there was a picture of top sorcerers with Ray. Ray then went to attend sword fight practice. Ray versus Aliam. The fight began but ended too fast, as Ray blocked Aliam's first attack and broke Aliam's sword with the second attack. During the fight, Abby was present there and was happy to see Ray, the Iceblade Sorcerer, enjoying his student life. At the room, as I said, the two gym bros were working out really hard. After the workout, Ray told Evi that he wants to join two clubs at once. First, Ray goes to the Environment Research Club. The club was filled with naked but jacked men. At first, they all thought that Ray was a skinny guy, but when Ray took off his shirt, all were surprised to see his bulked, jacked body. The head then asked Ray if he had a Gold Hunter card, and he surprised and impressed everyone with his Gold Hunter card. For the second club, he goes to the Plant Club. The club was filled with beautiful and elegant girls. The club's head was Rebecca from earlier. Ray told her that he wants to join their club, as he loves flowers. Rebecca was allowing him to join, but other girls were not ready to let a man touch flowers. One girl was Dina, to whom Rebecca gave the responsibility to reject Ray if he was unworthy after a test. For the test, Dina took Ray to a field filled with weeds and infertile soil and gave Ray 1 week to make this field suitable for flowers. Dina thought that Ray was unworthy, but Ray was way too qualified for the job. On day 1, he took out all the weeds. On days 2 and 3, he decided to make 2 plots in the land for flowers. Rebecca came to visit Ray. As he was working hard, she also treated him with fruit sandwiches. Rebecca told Ray that the Magic Chevalier competition was coming to find the strongest magic sword fighter. After some talking, Rebecca noticed Ray's biceps. She was very impressed to see such defined biceps at that moment. As I said, Ray was way too qualified for the job, and he finished the work given by Dina in 4 days. Everyone was surprised to see his work, and Dina also passed Ray to join the club. After the club, Abby gave Ray work to find out about a spy from the Empire, as the spy might have entered the academy too. Ray then again met Clarice. When Ray asked Clarice what she was doing, Clarice told Ray that she was watching some bugs, as she likes them. She told him that she never had friends before, as everyone likes dogs, cats, or some cute animals, while she likes bugs. Ray also liked them and had a story about bugs from the forest. Clarice was happy, as she had finally made a friend. In class, Gray asked Ray about sorcery derivation, and Ray told her clearly and perfectly about all 7 of them. Many of the students were shocked. After the class, Gray asked everyone to form groups of 4, as there was practical training in the forest. Everyone was forming groups, while Ray was confused, until Evi asked to form a party. But they were still lacking 2 people. Ray then approached Alisa for that, but she was not confident, as she is physically weak. But Ray persisted, and she finally said yes. She was also blushing too hard because of Ray's unintentional riz. For the last member, Rose approached from the front. Other students were shocked to see the noble Rose joining the party of Ray. In the jungle, Gray told everyone that the aim of the drill was to reach the center of the jungle with the maximum stamps they collect throughout the jungle. While Alisa was nervous, Ray was feeling nostalgic, as his whole childhood was spent in the forest. Rose was suggesting that Evi and Ray be vanguard, while she and Alisa would go for the center. But Ray suggested that he would go for the center, as he is used to these types of drills. Rose was doubting Ray for a second, as he had learned so much in the forest, which was not possible. Gray then announced that the drill had begun. All of them then rushed into the backwood forest, where they encountered a bee monster, but Ray sliced it into 2 pieces in just 1 blow. At night, they were discussing Ray's exceptional sword skill and survival skill, but Ray told them that he learned all this in the backwood forest. However, Rose was doubting it. Ray was confused, as his master told him that the backwood forest lie should work. Rose then told them that she didn't like formality and class stuff, and she was happy that they interacted with her without formality. Ray, who suddenly got a flashback of his past battlefield experience, realized that this forest is like a dream compared to the battlefield. Ray also remembered his master's talk, that if he ever finds real friends, he should trust them. The next day, suddenly they all heard a loud scream. Ray knew that something was wrong, so he rushed there alone. There was a strong spider monster attacking Aliam's party. The condition was not looking good, so Ray attacked the monster by dodging its attacks and stabbed the monster in the head, killing it. Rose then asked Ray about his true identity, but suddenly, from the shadows, a man used his sorcery, which made the monster stand up again. The monster had transformed and was looking stronger. Ray tried to use his sword, but it failed. So, Rose, Evi, and Alisa helped Ray to stun the monster. With all their help, Ray killed the monster easily. After the fight, Ray realized that his friends looked similar. From the corner, Clara saw how strong Ray was. Afterwards, the result of the drill was declared, and Ray's party had won. Not everyone was happy, and Aliam was even more jealous now. After that, Ray went to meet his master, who was none other than Ainsworth. Ainsworth told Ray that she had summoned him there as she was recently researching a part of the brain called the engram, which plays a huge role in sorcery. But after Ainsworth announced this, a new group emerged called eugenics, who started researching the engram. While she analyzed the brain, those bastards started researching it by opening the skull. They also invited her to join them. As they had surpassed humanity, they shouldn't advance sorcery. For this reason, Ainsworth had chosen Ray to deal with them. Ray then took Ainsworth for a walk, where their old memories were refreshed. Ainsworth then asked Ray if he had made any friends. Ray told her that he had made many. He also met an elf girl who loves her books. Ainsworth wanted to meet his friends, as they had made Ray's smile more genuine. The next day, Ray was having his daily running session when he met Alisa, who got stunned to see Ray. When Ray asked, Alisa told him that she was going to a library and bookstore. Ray asked if he could come too. Alisa was shocked, as Ray had asked her for a date indirectly. When Alisa came back after dressing nicely, Ray complimented her again, which made her blush. During their date, Clarice was there too. She was kind of sad to see Ray with Alisa. Ray realized that Clarice was there too, so he asked her for lunch. As a gentleman, Ray introduced both of them as beauties, which made both of them nervous and made the further conversation awkward. After that, Alisa and Clarice left. At that moment, Rose came out of a carriage as she was coming from a noble gathering. When Ray told her that he had had lunch with Alisa and Clarice, Rose immediately asked Ray to come with her too. They went to a clothing store, where Rose tried on multiple clothes, for which Ray complimented her perfectly again. Rose asked how Ray was so at ease with women. Ray told her that he had grown up in a women's environment. Rose realized that Ray was a gentleman and wanted to tell him about her true self. In the evening, Ray met Gray. Gray apologized to Ray as she was unable to do anything against the noble kids who didn't like Ray. But Ray wasn't bothered much, as he had already made some good friends. Other day, Ray attended Environment Research Club after training there. He went to the plant club where Dina gave Ray the spare key to the room. Ray then entered the club, where he mistakenly entered the room where Rebecca was changing. Rebecca was embarrassed, but Ray apologized. After meeting Rebecca, Ray went for his sword training, where Rose asked him for a duel. Ray didn't decline the offer. Rose started attacking Ray. Even though her blows didn't have much power, they were still fast. Training with Rose made Ray remember his childhood practice. Suddenly, Ray's instinct kicked in. He was going to injure Rose with a single blow, but he controlled himself. Seeing this epic duel, everyone was stunned. The instructor declared Rose the winner, as Ray's sword had been flung away. After the duel, they all enjoyed lunch. Ray told them that he had a master who trained him in sword and sorcery too. When suddenly Aliam and his group came there and asked Ray for a duel as well, Ray accepted the offer. Aliam took Ray and the others to a forest, where Clarice realized a barrier was installed so that no sound could escape. This time, they were not fighting with wooden swords, as Aliam had brought real swords for the duel. Besides Ray, Aliam, and the others, there was a person from the forest observing the duel. Aliam, whose motive from his childhood was to increase his family's status after seeing his father suffer, heard a voice ordering him to kill Ray. Despite Aliam's multiple attempts with spells, Ray was able to slice them in two. Ray then rushed toward Aliam, dodging and destroying Aliam's spells. Aliam then used his most powerful spell, where he summoned a fire dragon, but Ray split it in two without any effort. Aliam kneeled down, crying as he couldn't win against Ray. Rose asked Ray to tell them about him, as his strength was exceptionally powerful. But before Ray could tell them, suddenly a force made all of them fall beside Ray. The person who had been observing their battle came out. She was none other than Professor Gray. Ray then realized that Gray was a member of the inhumane organization Eugenics, and she was the one responsible for the accident in the forest. Gray's motive was to achieve the engram and analyze it. Ray then pointed his sword toward Gray, and she started to attack him using her fire snake. She made her attack follow Ray, but then she suddenly decided to attack Ray's friends. To save his friends, Ray decided to use his hidden strength, and a wall of ice formed in front of him to protect Rose and the others. Beside the ice wall, Ray's appearance changed too. He then created an ice blade to attack Gray. Gray panicked to see the ice blade, as she thought the Iceblade Sorcerer had vanished. Ray told her that the status had passed down to him from the former sorcerer. Gray then decided to use her best spell, but Ray activated a code which made Gray's dragon disappear. Gray realized she didn't have a chance to win, so she decided to run away, but Ray stabbed her with the blade to stop her. Seeing she had no other option, she injected herself with a syringe, which transformed her into a mutant. After Gray became a mutant, her barrier broke. Even though Gray had become strong, she was still weaker than Ray. Ray could destroy every attack of Gray's by using some code. When Gray asked Ray how he could dissolve her attacks, Ray told her that he could use anti-material code, and beside him, no other person could use that. Gray then started using dark sorcery, but Ray could stop them too. Suddenly, Evi and Alisa noticed that Ray's body was getting covered with ice. This further made Ray pant, so Gray decided to attack. Gray's attack broke Ray's blade. She thought that she could win, but all this was part of Ray's plan. Thus, he fused ice into Gray, and this killed her. This fight made Ray faint, but he was happy to have saved his friends. While Ray was resting, we learned that Ray was a war survivor, and no nation was willing to accept him as a citizen. So Ainsworth and Carol decided to take Ray with them. At first, their colonel was not ready, but seeing Ainsworth and Ray together, he couldn't deny it. So everyone accepted Ray. During the war, Ray played a huge role, but when Ray's friend Howard died on the field, Ray became angry, and this caused his sorcery to overheat. Ray then woke up in a hospital bed. Ainsworth was there to meet him. Ray apologized to Ainsworth for using his power, but she was not angry, as he had saved them. Abby then told Ray that at first she was not ready to take him into the academy, but then Ainsworth bowed down to her as Ainsworth wanted Ray, who had been grown in the battlefield, to enjoy student life. Abby was unable to decline Ainsworth, as this was the first time she had ever bowed to her. Ray started to cry upon seeing Ainsworth's love toward him. After Abby left, Ray's friends came to meet him. Ray told them that he was the Iceblade Sorcerer and had fought in the Far East War, where he became overheated and lost control of his engram. The overheating injured many people in the war, including his master. So from then on, he uses a spell to avoid getting overheated again. Ray continued and told them that in the war, he had lost many friends and killed countless people. This thought made him question if he deserved this life. But Ray's friends were not bothered by his past, and everyone wanted him to be here. This made him happy, as he had gotten his friends back, friends he had lost in the past. At night, Aliam came to meet Ray, but this time not for a duel, but to apologize. Ray accepted it without any problem and told Aliam that his past didn't matter. Aliam realized that he had been wrong all this time to hate people. All he needed to do was accept them. The next day, as Gray was no more, Abby introduced everyone to their new teacher, Carol. This is where 5 episodes of this anime ends. In the next part of the series, we'll see how Rose faces her family's expectations in the competition and how Ray will help her overcome them. Don't miss it. Subscribe now and stay tuned for the next part.